Hi everybody, welcome back to the live stream. I'm Danielle Morimoto and I'm a designer here at Adobe, and this is UX Design Week and I'm joined by Jeannie. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. I'm Jeannie. I'm a senior product designer. I also work at Adobe, specifically on the Behance team, which is really exciting for us because if you're watching us live from b.net/live, that's my team. Hello there.
Yeah, and we're excited to have Jeannie here with us. You work out of the New York office, so she flew all the way here to San Francisco to be with us, which is really exciting. And so also in the chat, everybody, hello. Let us know where you're joining us from. We'd love to get a sense of where everybody is as well. Claudia, hi, thanks for joining. Let us know where you guys are. And so today is actually day one of 3 days that we're going to be here. And Jeannie is going to be designing a prototype using Adobe XD, our prototyping tool. Thank you. And we actually have, thank you, Diego, joining in from, we have France, Walt West from San Diego in the chat. People from Kelly Schmidt is in St. Louis, Alina in Denmark. So we have people from all over. Richard from Chicago. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And we also have giveaways today in the chat that I want to make sure to mention. We have some swag, some XD swag, some socks, some great socks that we're going to be giving away. So make sure that you are active in the chat and you can have a chance to win some XD swag. Do you have any XD swag?
I don't, but I do have a gift for you, actually. So right before I came here, I got some flowers for the live team. You actually, in San Francisco, the office is right next to the largest flower shop in all of California. It's a block away. So I got you some of these. Oh, the green screen isn't working, but here we are.
Whoa, the green screen makes it look crazy.
That's amazing. That's actually pretty cool.
That's awesome. But those are beautiful. Thank you.
Yes. So
yeah, I actually have these socks myself, and I threatened the team that I was gonna wear them and put my foot up and show everybody. But I decided in retrospect, maybe it wasn't the most professional thing to do. So I decided not to wear them. But maybe another day. But yeah, throughout the chat today, please send in your questions and let us know if you have any questions around what Jeannie's working on or about Adobe XD, our process, career questions. Just send them in and we would love to answer them throughout the stream. So definitely be active in the chat. And so with that, Jeannie, why don't you let us know sort of what you want to go through today?
Yeah. So before I start, I'll talk a little bit about kind of what I do and what my team is like, because I think there's a lot of questions since the chat is hosted on Behance. So Behance our team is based in New York, like you mentioned. We're pretty small, and our design team is actually only 6 people, 3 of whom work on the web. I'm one of those people, so I work primarily for the web, designing things like what should it look like when you go to account settings or your profile. And we also have 1 person working on our Behance mobile app, and then the other 2 people work on other products within the Adobe ecosystem. So yeah, we're a pretty small team. We love Behance. We love the users that we get to interact with. We love the kind of work that comes in, and it's really great. And I think there was a challenge today about whether or not we would be able to design Behance inside of Behance, and I thought that would be kind of confusing. So today, actually, I thought we would go ahead and, if you want to switch to my screen, we're actually going to go through and walk through the product design process to build a mock site. And I think this would be a really great way to kind of showcase my process, what my team does specifically in the real world. We use Adobe XD every day, not because we're forced to, but really by choice. We really love using XD as a major part of our workflow, and all of our files are kind of in XD. So I thought it would be really great to do that. And so this is kind of the process, my personal process about how I design. Actually, even this prototype, this little screen thing is actually made in XD. You made
this in XD, nice.
Yeah, a little clever hack there. Get rid of Keynote, just use XD for everything. But yeah, so we're gonna have a little bit of process. So my process happens to look like this. There's 7 steps. Define, research, explore, refine, build, test, rinse and repeat. So
And this is the process you've been using while designing on Behance, is that?
Yeah. I think this is kind of a little bit different from, every team kind of has a different setup and a way to do things, and this is just what happens to work for us. But yeah, so we start off with defining requirements and success. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about what the project we're going to work on, what it's going to look like, and what success would mean for us if we were to do this mock project for a website. Then usually my process involves some sort of research where others have paved the way. So, this requires looking at other competitors or looking at places where there's inspiration. We don't need to redefine the wheel, especially for something like Behance where it's so UI, the UI kind of fades into the background because we want the user's work to come up to the front, right? We're all about attribution and giving people credit. So the UI doesn't need to be this revolutionary new way to, sign up for something or to click a button. The button can just be a button, but really researching what the best practices are in our industry and just figuring that out is a big part of this. We explore solutions and ideas. This is a crazy stage where there's just so much going on in XD, and XD is super great for this because we'll just have hundreds of screens, versions, stupid ideas, great ideas, all kinds of crazy copycat ideas, and just think through what those examples could really look like. Then we refine it via feedback. This can be either via design critique. This can be great suggestions from our developers. I love working with our development team. Hi, friends. And they're just really the best. And they give such great user experience feedback because they themselves, like anyone else, uses websites, and they kind of have a lot of thoughts about what would be feasible to build and what that would mean for us. And then we build it with our team, and this is everyone. This is our data and analytics team. This is our community support team. This is our business side. This is especially development and design, having a really, really close relationship. So that's kind of like the big build it, ship it thing. And then lastly, it's testing your product with real users and metrics, really being able to A/B test things, check on whether or not, our gut instinct for some certain product decisions were right or not. And then lastly, rinse and repeat. We're always learning. We're always iterating. Sometimes I will ship a design and honestly, it doesn't do so good. And that's for us to kind of take a good solid look at what worked and what didn't.
Yeah, I feel like getting through that cycle and doing as many iterations as you can as quickly as possible is really valuable as well. To learn and fail as quickly as you can is really important instead of also going through that process and really taking a long time. It seems like really being able to go through some cycles as quickly as possible is pretty valuable.
Yeah, and we save all of our garbage ideas. It's great. You'll open a doc and the top will be of our XD file will be the stuff we actually want to deliver and build. Mm-hmm. And then at the bottom, I'll have a section called archive, and I'll show you what that looks like later. I can show you with real Behance files actually. And it's just straight garbage, but that's fine, right? It's to show that we really have thought through all of the ways that our solutions and our, the ways that we could kind of execute make sense.
And Claudia on the chat's asking is this design thinking? Is this sort of similar to design thinking and sort of that process that's been set out?
This is similar. I would say that some people, because they're really broad here, we'll go back one. They're really broad sections here. And some people, they'll be oh, where's the prototyping phase? And I'm oh, that's in the testing phase. And that might kind of slot differently for different teams. I think that's kind of maybe the one place, prototyping, that would be a little different in our team versus other teams.
Nice.
Yeah. So here is an image I really love. This is by Julie Zhao. She's a product design VP at Facebook. And I think about this all the time, especially with the rinse and repeat part of the project process is understanding the problem is already really hard. Designing a solution is even harder. Shipping the solution, it's super hard. If you've ever shipped anything to the real world, that really sucks. And then iterating until the solution solves a problem. That is truly the hardest. And so that's something we think about a lot here is can I get out an MVP so that I can, a minimum viable product to kind of work on so that I can iterate until the solution solves the problem.
Yeah. Totally, yeah.
Yeah. I think before we talk about the project, is there any questions about that process? Because I feel like that can be pretty intense.
Yeah, on the chat, let us know if you have any feedback or thoughts or questions about the process that Jeannie just shared with us. Go ahead and ask them in the chat, and we will get back to you on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, so our project today, since I am a web designer, I primarily design for the web. We're going to make a website. And I know that's pretty different. A lot of the XD live streams have been about mobile apps, and I think XD is great for that. But I just want to show you what it looks like if you were to design web stuff. Two, it's going to be service oriented. In other words, I didn't want to just make a site where it's like a really nice landing page. We can make a nice landing page. We'll do that. But I also wanted it to be like kind of distinctly like you had to interact with the page in some way. That kind of UI UX thinking kind of has to be like slotted in somewhere versus just like, hey, here's a really beautiful landing page. And then hopefully by the end of this week, since we're doing today, tomorrow, and the day after, we can really go into responsive and just show what that would kind of look like quickly.
That sounds great.
Yeah, we do design responsively, so.
Yeah, we do. And there is a question on the chat. Josh was wondering, love to learn some creative ways to depict the final work on Behance. Having worked on Behance, do you have any feedback for him on suggestions for that?
Yeah, for sure. So our curation team does a lot of work about deciding, what kind of projects really shine on Behance. And we found that one is really using big images. The more images is better. And the second thing that I will say is showing process. The people don't tend to do that as much. I think process is kind of like messy and confusing. But if you could find a way where there's like a project where you can see like, hey, let's say it's a sculpture project or a graphic design project, and you show the process that you get from point A to point B. Here's my 1 or 2 or 3 versions of how I got there. I think people find that compelling and they share that and appreciate that more than others.
Cool. That's great feedback. Thank you.
Great.
You want to jump into?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So a little plug here, shameless plug. On the side, when I don't do product design, I actually do floral design, and I specialize in wearable flowers. That's why I brought you guys flowers for today.
Yeah, I love it.
And so, I shoot these with actually my coworker. She helps me with the photography, and then we do the styling and the shooting for this. And that's just really exciting for us to kind of show my work here in the context of a website. And so the problem that I'm going to try to solve today is that finding the right florist, the right style, the right person, the right price point is really confusing. And where do I even begin? So this is going to be a service-oriented website in that sense. And so my elevator pitch, if I had to jump in an elevator and explain to someone what I was trying to sell them, it would be, I want to find the right florist for me quickly and easily. And this product will be a success when I can find the right florist and sign a contract in one visit to the site. In other words, I think we don't want to like draw it out. It becomes this whole process right now. So we're really gonna kind of give it a go.
Sounds good.
So before I start, I'll just show you guys a little bit of the pre-work I had done. So I actually had gone ahead and I made a mood board, and this is all in XD. I'll just make different like comps for this, and I made a little mood board here.
So this is before you even start your design or anything else. Was this like sort of the place you started? Because another question someone had on the chat earlier was around, like when do you start with like a website? Do you start with mobile first? And sort of like where you begin when you have something like this.
Right. So I tend to start not mobile first, and I know that's not industry practice, but I will clarify that most of our Behance users come visit us via the web. And so since I focus on the website experience of the network, I tend to think desktop first. In my designs, I will always just have in the back of my mind, like what this should make some sort of sense enough to fold down into a tablet and mobile size. I'm not usually too worried. I can kind of show you guys when I'm designing. But yeah, it tends to be desktop first.
Okay.
Yeah. And here, this mood board is not normal because in Behance we don't need a mood board. The images come from the users. We don't need to like consider that. But for here, I've just kind of thought about like some UI elements and what they would look like. So you can see here there's some form fields, search inputs, tags, toggles, giving us some button styles, giving us some text styles. And this is really just to, when we work on Behance, we already have that stuff set up.
Right.
And it doesn't make sense for me to spend the entire 2 days just fixing buttons for you guys.
Something for the chat to get it off the ground.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So I did a little pre-work here, and I think a lot of people have questions about this kind of stuff. This is really the UI portion of like some people sit down and they like really, really work out the spacing and the general like look and feel of the site. This is like where you do that kind of work. And there's some colors, so pretty straightforward. So yeah, I think before I usually think about, what I do try to think about is, you know, where should I start? So we'll just make a landing page today that helps you get on the well on your way to finding a florist, and we'll just start there. So I'll go ahead and I will make a artboard. I tend to like the 1920 web size. I don't really know why. That's just like where I tend to design. And sometimes you can see this is like all of my screens. I'll like actually go ahead and label these. So I'll just start with, let me make this really big. Oh, 100 is not big enough. I'll usually just say, this was my little presentation or pitch. And then here, I'll have a little section for, this was my mood board and elements. And then I'll actually make a section right here for like a landing page.
Nice. And I don't know how much you use for your mood board and elements, but in XD there is the libraries section, which is really helpful as well. So you can also go over and start to add in your typefaces and color palette and everything to help you with the file as well when you have something branded.
Should we do that now?
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that now. That'd be great.
Okay, we'll do that with the font at the text at the very minimum.
Cool.
So how would I do that here? I would go to elements here. That's layers.
Yeah, so we have the assets panel, and you can create a character style, just like that by clicking the plus button. And that is like this new feature that we have in, and the colors as well. You can set a color palette, which is really helpful when you're trying to sort of create a style guide for the document.
Great. We'll stick to those for now. I think that'll be good. Maybe we'll give it a color.
Yeah, and Adobe XD actually had a release last night, for those of you who don't know. And one of the exciting things that actually came out in the latest release was we have vector graphics now in libraries. So we didn't have that before, but yeah, it's really exciting to have that. And that's just like one of a couple different awesome new releases that came out in last night's release.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So typically at this stage, people would say like, I need to wireframe, or they'll be like, okay, can I have some pen and paper and draw what I want? And we actually tend not to do that. Again, I know it's like blasphemy for the industry right now, but I actually jump right into high fidelity mocks. This is a little bit from one, just practicing, going and just doing a lot of high fidelity mocks from the get-go. My team did that when I onboarded. I was like, wow, this is really hard, and I just kind of picked it up, and now that's how we do it. And two is that we found that it's tough to get people to respond to wireframes. You know, it's just gray boxes and lines. A lot of times, like, development will be like, I don't quite understand what you're trying to say here. It requires like a level of like imagination and extrapolation that is a lot of mental work. And when I want people to respond to my page and be like, yes, this is what's going to work, I typically want them to just react to the page. So I think that is useful to keep in mind.
Yeah, and so to clarify even more, on that point, which is great, is there is that difference between what we call low fidelity and high fidelity designs. Low fidelity being maybe you don't have the real text in yet and you just have gray boxes for images, and it's really just about placement and the experience and very low level, so low fidelity. But we also have what's called high fidelity, which is, you have some more of the photos and it's more realistic visually. You've done a lot more of the visual touches to make it sort of more realistic. So you say that you like to jump in a little bit more on the higher fidelity side than the low fidelity. Awesome. And yes to Robert and Cullen on the chat, Truxal, the vectors are awesome. The latest update of XD is very exciting. There was also, I think, the eyedropper in Property Inspector that is a small thing but meant so much to me. I was really excited to have the eyedropper back.
That is really exciting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna close this guy so that he's not in the way. All right, so first off, I thought a little bit about this page before I came here. That's also why probably sketching is not as like straightforward. Like on my way here in a cab, I was like, oh, I should probably think about the layout of this page. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm generally gonna just kind of put together a page that looks with top navigation, you know, something pretty straightforward. I'm gonna give myself a quick logo. This isn't gonna be finalized, but I like to kind of do this. Let's just, what should I do? So I think because I actually own a business called Botanica New. That's my floral business. So I'll just name this website Botanica for now. We're not going to agonize over what the logo styling of this will be because it's not as important to the UI for this.
Great. Yeah, and for those of you who are just joining the chat, I know we had someone who's just joining us. Right now, Jeannie is working in Adobe XD and creating a prototype right now, working on a landing page for a mock website for her floral designs that she does. And also in the chat, I've been seeing a couple comments. Lindsay, I know you've been asking about when we'll have, animations or GIFs in Adobe XD. One thing I definitely want to point out is we have something called a user voice. So if you want to change over to my screen, I have up Adobe XD .uservoice.com. So if you guys do have features that you're really wanting to see, like adding animations or GIFs, or I think someone else mentioned earlier, like scrolling, like static scroll, this is the place to go. We look at this, the Adobe XD team goes here and you can add a feature request. And yes, thank you. We've added the link in the chat so you can check this out. But if you have a request like fixed elements and scrolling artboards, I know is very popular and we've been hearing that a lot. You can go ahead and come here. You can vote for pieces that you really want. So if you really want to see a feature, you can vote for it here. And you can see that the XD team will mark it if it's something that they're working on. So right now, like the scrolling artboards is a feature that's being worked on. So you can follow along with us. You can help decide sort of the future of what this product is going to be. We want to hear from you guys for what you want this product to be, and we'll be working on it. There's also feature in the backlog, so you can add your own requests and we will take a look at them. So make sure to check out User Voice if you have other requests. Cool, so we'll check back in with Jeannie.
Great. So one of the questions I think I saw earlier was like, why don't you use a grid? We do. And I really like this one. I kind of put this together. So if you click on an artboard, you can see on the right side there's like a grid and it gives you an option for putting in columns, and you can always turn that on and off. There's also a shortcut. I think it's Shift Command apostrophe. Yeah.
Nice. Had that one memorized.
Yeah, I think I just figured that one out. Oh. So I'm gonna just work off of this 12-column grid. On Behance, the grids can be kind of wonky sometimes, so it really depends on the page we're building because different pages were built at different times. So a lot of the older pages actually have like a 960 width to the entire content, which is really small in modern day world. But back when Behance was still first being built, that was a really big deal. So that was already like considered pretty wide. So here so this is just some like basic navigational thinking to kind of frame the page, right? I don't really know what I'm going to do entirely, but I know at the minimum that there is going to be a logo on the left because I want people to be able to go back to the homepage. The main point of what we're going to do right now is to help you find a florist and get well on your way to signing a contract. It's just going to be super easy for you. So we're going to just make that my main navigation piece, and probably some sort of sign in, sign up process here. And then we can go back in and refine these later.
Awesome. And Martin on the chat is wondering, is it recommended to design on a grid? What are your thoughts on that?
It's useful. I think particularly in cases where it's responsive, I think it's useful to kind of place things on a grid so that you know the logic for how it's going to break down. I personally like 12 because then if I have something that is like boxes, I could do either rows of 3 or rows of like 4. If they're 4 across, it's kind of more flexible. I'm going to do 2, 3, 4. I guess I could do 6. So I think that's really useful.
Yeah, I agree. I think like when it comes to responsive design, using a grid is really important to like keep that structure and have a sense of how it's going to flow across mobile and web and everything like that.
And I think it's also just useful to, when you hand off to development, that they're not looking at something that has no rhyme or reason, right? Development is design's best friend. And we really got to go back and think about, like, when I'm showing this as a developer and they have to actually build it, like, what is the logic that I can explain to them about that. So,
well, yeah. And thank you guys in the chat for these questions. They're really great so far. So yeah, again, keep them coming. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I think maybe one of the things that we'll do is we'll go ahead and just drop in let's just think about, like, how would I get you to quickly understand what the point of this website is, right? Maybe one way we could do that is to say, let me get this really big. Yeah, big text.
Nice
And big. All right, so maybe one way we could do it is to kind of give you automatic prompts. I really love that kind of stuff. I love when Airbnb you show up and it's just right there. It's like a big search bar and you're just like, it tells you like you're gonna look for a home. Or anything really when you like land on the page and you can immediately kind of interact with the site and understand like, what is the point of this? What am I going to get out of it? You have no confusion about like the next step, like where am I going to go? Where is this going to take me? So I tend to like designs like that because I think anyone should be able to use that very quickly.
Awesome.
So here we'll just say, find your florist. Oh, that's really big. Find your florist.
Cool. And while Jeannie's working on this, I do want to mention that we have a contest going on today. And so today's, we usually have themes. Today we have UI kits that we're using. And so if you want to switch over to my screen, I have up the Adobe blog where we have this article where Adobe basically asked 5 great designers to design UI kits using Adobe XD, and they are free to download, so you guys can use them. And today's challenge, if you download the Smartwatch UI kit, you can create a click-through prototype. And the winner, which Jeannie and I will decide at the end of this stream, so stay tuned, will win a 1-year subscription to Creative Cloud. So that's really exciting. And so basically, just go in here. You can download the Smartwatch UI kit. I'm sure we'll add a link in the chat. And you will see on Behance the beautiful UI kit that was created here. And you can go ahead and take a look. It has some awesome elements. I'll open it up really quickly and then we can throw back to Jeannie. But within this kit, which you can see was made by Marcelo Silva, it has a lot of different screens, and one of the great things about this is it's already hooked up, so the prototype is already linked. So all you have to do is press the play button and you'll see the preview here. And in Adobe XD, you can now click through and start to actually interact with this prototype. And so for those of you who are maybe more beginners, there is already sort of this click through and you can just start to tweak some of the visuals and play with it a little bit more. And those of you who are more advanced, go crazy. But this is today's template for the contest, and we'll be taking a look through some of them as you send them in today, and then at the very end, again, Jeannie and I will pick the winner. So stay tuned.
Great. So I've gone ahead and just put in some nice big text and just thought about what I want to see here. And I'm just going to say, find a florist near your location with the perfect style. And part of the reason why I phrased it this way is I think I'm actually going to make these like your location and the perfect style. I'm just setting those two things as parameters, and we're just going to immediately allow users to search right then and there. And you can see that I've lined it up with my grid. Again, to do your grid, it's going to be Shift, Command, apostrophe. So, yep, pretty easy. Or you can just select the artboard, and on the right side, under grid, it should give you an option. So, and then here, instead of, I just dragged in a button, but I think I'm going to call this Search Now. I like the sense of urgency now implies. And then here we're going to give it a little bit of styling. So I like this kind of UI, right? I like UI where there's some sort of like prompt that you can do immediately. Like you don't have to like scroll or go through an about page. You know, there's a lot of times products have about pages and they're like 15 sections long, and no user wants to scroll through that. So I want people to be able to come here and just see immediately that this is what they're doing. So we'll set this so that. And part of the reason why I'm not using the underline feature here is because I want it to be at a certain size and style. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the underline feature in XD. It's just I have a personal preference right now. And I'll go ahead and steal this icon.
And I love how fast Adobe XD is.
Yeah, it's great.
And you said you use Adobe XD when designing Behance and working in Behance.
Yep.
Is there anything you can talk a little bit more about that and your process working on Behance?
Yeah. So Behance is, like I said, like it's attribution based and it's about other people's work. So our style, I can go to Behance real quick actually and show you. You know, the style really has to fade into like these boxes, right? They're not really supposed to, they're supposed to just fade. They're supposed to just carry us information. We're not really so, you know, focused on like, wow, I can't believe Jeannie designed the world's most beautiful box or world's most beautiful drop down.
Yeah.
It's really about like, wow, this person's work is so good. Like this is so cool. Like what an insane project.
Yeah, you really want to showcase the work on this. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think stuff like that is really interesting. Like even simple things like, so recently we added these arrows, not that recently, maybe like a couple months ago, but you can actually toggle between projects just by clicking left and right. And I love that. Just like helping our UI UX design is really about like helping you browse work in like a very kind of obvious sort of way, like an easy, straightforward sort of way.
Nice. Yeah, and Kevin, to answer your question on the chat, he asked if you've already set up all the fonts before you started designing. And so yes, Jeannie had come in with this file with some UI elements already defined, some fonts, some buttons, and UI elements just to get started off the ground. So that's what she's referring to.
Yep. And that's pretty normal for like, I guess if you're not like a small agency where you're trying to define that branding and style for the client, typically like because I'm in-house, right? There's already established style guide. So there's a little bit of work that someone else has already come in and done. In this case, I did it before I got here. Instead of being like, I don't know, like what font should I pick?
Yeah.
But so here, I think both of these fonts are available on Typekit actually, which is great. So the big display serif font is Freight Display Pro, and then the small one is Avenir. So I just like a kind of quirky mix of serif and sans serif fonts. So yeah, and then maybe what we can do here is actually drop in some imagery. So let's go to downloads, actually desktop. I have some images here. You can kind of see them. So these are the images that I shot because I'm going to use the floral images that I'm doing as my side project as part of our main project here. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop that in. I love that feature. I just kind of drag things in all the time. You can see the whole image here. And I'm going to make it smaller. And I'm just going to use that. And one of the things I really like is recently I think there's been a trend of like having images kind of fall off the side of the browser, right? So they're not just like, typically you would be like turn on the grid, align to the grid, and that would be kind of the end of the day. But I think recently there's been a nice trend where people like kind of have the image fall off the edges of the browser, and then you can actually continue to move like the image like would kind of just come in from the side, I guess. And so here, I'm actually going to mask this image because I want it to be a little bit smaller. So I'll go ahead and open a shape. Sorry, I'll turn off the column so you can see better. I make a shape over my image, and I just make it whatever I want. I select it along with the image. I go to Object, Mask with Shape, and there you go. So I'll go ahead and just kind of manipulate this to be what I want.
Awesome. So while Jeannie's working on that, I think we'll take a look at some of your guys' submissions that have started to come in for the contest today. So I mentioned earlier we have the ongoing contest where you can win a 1-year free subscription to Creative Cloud. So I have up here, we have a submission from Lindsay, and looks like hot and cold. So I'm just going to go ahead and click through, clicked on cold. Welcome to California Hiking Trail. Awesome. So I'm going to click through. Looks like we have different levels here. Oh, I like the different color gradients. This is one of the submissions we got in.
That's really pretty.
And then it looks like you can see overall steps. Let's see, let's click on pictures. Wonder if there's a difference if I click on hot. Looks like the same walkthrough, but this looks really great. So thank you, Lindsay, for sending this in. And yeah, so for the rest of you, continue to send in your submissions for today, and we'll pick a winner at the very end of the chat.
Yeah, those gradients are awesome.
Yeah, and I think send them in by 12:30, I think is the deadline for today, and then we'll be looking at them after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So here I've placed my image. I've kind of had this little, generic text. Maybe we could actually give you options to select here. So I'll just use this as my placeholder, and I guess what we can do is we can actually give it a little bit of styling. So I kind of like to do this. So I've gone and I've downloaded from the Noun project some icons as SVGs. So I'm going to open them with Illustrator. The only reason why I'm opening it with Illustrator first is because they come with like a Creative Commons like tagline. So I kind of want to not have that in the vector. You can kind of see it here. Whoop. Yeah, like it'll give you a little tagline, so I can't just like open the SVG by itself. We'll give it a second to open, and maybe we'll just give it some sort of pizzazz to kind of like brighten up. I really like, there's also been a recent trend where there have been like transparent PNGs kind of floating over images and just allowing like an additional element to move. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of that. And here I'm also going to sometimes I like to optimize things and just think about why are we naming things and does it make sense? So here where it says sign in and sign up, I feel like the words are kind of close, and it feels we could make this more exciting because I really want to push people to sign up. So maybe we can make this our like start now, this kind of level of urgency. And this is one of those things that like I'm saying now, but I don't really know, like I don't have a way to user test this right now. And if I could, I would A/B test different versions of what that button would say and the label, etc. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll go ahead and take this SVG, drop it in, maybe give it a nice color. We'll just kind of place these around. See if I can open these.
Yeah, now you could add things from Illustrator into your library, and you will have vector in XD, which is exciting from the release last night.
Yeah. So actually, you know what? I will make this the logo one because I kind of like it. Come on, it's so thin. There we go. We'll make this kind of my little logo there, and we'll duplicate it.
Yeah, so for Behance, Will has a question around if you're a big fan of A/B testing, and he's heard some arguments for and against it. You mentioned A/B testing, that you would typically A/B test. Is that something that you guys do on Behance, or what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I'm really big on A/B testing. I think I understand if you're in a really small shop or you like don't have like the resources to do it. You're like, look, we could either make something new or A/B test. We should make something new. Because like your users are like, we really need something, or your business really needs a specific object or item. Come on.
It's thin.
Yeah, it's really thin. Just kind of layer a bunch of these.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question. A/B testing, I think there's a lot of value in it. I do think though also, some people don't have the resources to do A/B testing, in which case I also think there's a lot of value in user testing and just sort of getting it out there and testing it with users as quickly as possible as well, if you don't have the option to A/B test. And XD is also great for creating really quick, you can create different versions and have 2 click-throughs in your file and maybe test with people right away and get some feedback. And XD, I think one of the biggest values is that you are able to prototype so quickly. Like you can have one of these click-throughs in just an hour. And I think like Jeannie is working on a more like high fidelity design versus the low fidelity, but you can also get to a click-through of just a low fidelity pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I think especially with A/B testing, my dream truly is to AAB test.
Okay.
And that is when you have 2 control groups. So like, let's say I'm trying to launch a different version of this button. Sometimes like you'll launch your normal version and the new version, and the numbers will come back and you'll be like, I'm not really sure. Like we had only 1,000 people hit it. Like, is that the right thing? And I don't know. I find that kind of strange. I feel like, if we could just make sure, like I think that's the key with data, is to be entirely sure that what you're doing with your analytics and tracking and metrics is 100% solid so that you can actually make some, defined decisions. And that's what A/B testing really is about. Any sort of feedback loop, it's about intentionality, like helping you make intentional decisions towards your design and product that are backed by data and metrics. So yeah. All right, so back to the design. I've just scattered some of these things. I'm gonna make a couple more little circles here because, I don't know, it could be useful. Just like little designy elements to help.
Yeah, those are fun. So where did you make those before? Where did you make those?
Those are just from the Noun project.
Okay.
Yeah, so I downloaded someone else's vectors. Normally if I was like a little more, had more time, I would probably like make it myself. But we'll just have it, like you can see, it kind of overlaps. We could pair it, like when we deliver it, we could kind of make it move in the parallax kind of style. Like they could move a little bit separately from the scroll, and it could be a little interesting. Okay, so now we'll actually work on the UX part of this, I think is important. So I'll label this. I like to label all of my boards. I'm not very good at it during work.
I was gonna say, you seem very organized with your files.
Just
it's good to organize and to but some people, I have gone into some files around here and the layers have been a little iffy. So
I'll just call it landing 1, and we can go back and edit it later. And so I went and duplicated the same board. And what I'm really concerned with is like I've kind of set these 2 things as metrics, and I like to really use every single artboard to show you what the design, like the interim states. I think that's really where design can shine, to show you like, hey, I might not be able to make a prototype right off the bat because I'm just not that good at front-end coding, but I can show you all the different states and what I would expect that to look like. So here, I'll go ahead and just make a change. So I want to show the hover state for this. I wonder if I have a mouse cursor somewhere.
And so you did just mention coding, and I know in the chat, people, I've seen a couple chats come through, people asking if you have any coding background, and so I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that and maybe how that relates to you using Adobe XD.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't have any coding background, and the way that that's worked out for us is that we have such good front-end engineers at Behance that if we do need to do prototyping, it's almost faster to just sit down with 1 or 2 and just be like, hey, can we just mock something up real quick or do it in the browser? I probably have enough skills to like fiddle with stuff in the browser to show like, hey, this is kind of what I want it to look like. And I think that's as far as my coding goes. I think really like for me, what I want to focus on next in my career and craft is really moving more towards like product thinking and the business side. I want to stay a designer. I just want to like be able to apply those kind of thoughts. So I'm not as interested in coding. I know that some people on my team, they're amazing. They can just code websites as prototypes immediately. So.
Yeah, and that's the same for me as well. I don't have any coding background, but I think that's one of the things I love the most about Adobe XD is that I can create a click-through prototype that basically looks real and can tell the story that I want to tell, compared to just having these sort of flat visuals that I have to go through. And so that's been a big advantage for me, having that and being able to like create that so quickly. I do also work with a lot of engineers here that are so skilled in what they do that we usually pair also in the team that I came from, which was the design lab team. We're made up of designers and engineers here at Adobe, and sort of pair up together to work on these, future looking projects. And so thinking about what could Adobe do in the next 1 to 3 years out. And so that's something that we do, and they're really great at the coding. But what XD has helped me do is really tell the story and the vision that I have in my head quicker than I could before.
Yes.
And show the value of what the experience could be and the fuller experience, and it gives people like a realistic idea of what that's going to be, instead of just seeing sort of these static images like they did before previously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's really useful. It's like always keeping in mind like how do we show and how do we deliver and how do we get feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, feedback is super key.
Okay, so here we'll go back and take a quick look, and this is kind of something I would do if I was just thinking about the general flow of the page, right? It was like I want people to quickly understand when they hit the page, here's what we're going to do, here's what the service is going to do for me, and feel very empowered to kind of make decisions right off the bat, right? It's not going to be hard decisions, it's just your location, right? We just want to know your location. And so what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've made a landing page, and then I thought about the hover state. So if I were to hover over one of these very obvious kind of like underline-y sections, what it would look like. It's simple. And then next, I'm going to kind of, what should that hover state trigger, right? So I'm going to think of a couple of ways to throw against the wall and try. So one way is to say, I wanted to have a pop-up, but I'm going to do something a little clever here, which is that not to do a pop-up that jumps up in the middle of the page, but to really put it on the side and just have it come in, right? I can kind of imagine the animation as I'm designing. So I gotta close this preview. All I've done is I've put an overlay over the page like this, like a little black one with like a percentage opacity, 30%. And then I've gone ahead and put this in and put a shadow on it. I think a 40 pixel fat shadow. Nice and just very crispy, or not crispy, very smooth.
Crispy.
Crispy.
You think you're getting hungry. It's
Yeah.
getting close to lunchtime for us, so crispy. I don't know.
It is true.
It's triggering food thoughts in my head right now.
It's true. So here I can think about like location and where that would, how would I allow a user to select a location? So one way I could do is just very simplistically be like, enter your zip code. I think that would be a good way because the zip code would 100% allow us to, I'm just gonna make it like this. And instead of a zip code, let's be specific. Let's say your zip code. Anytime I can be as specific as possible and help the user have less cognitive friction, I try to think about that. So is it which zip code? It's your zip code. Things like that. And we'll put in a little form field here.
Awesome. And so when you were showing this before, you went ahead and pressed the play button, and we're going through sort of the different screens you had. You hadn't hooked it up or anything yet,
Nope.
right? But you could still sort of slide through what you had. But
Yep.
I think later when you get closer towards the end, we can do a little hooking everything up so you guys can see sort of clicking through and creating hotspots throughout the prototype really quickly.
Yep. Another very simplistic way to do this would be to say, let's give it, actually, you know what, I'm like jumping ahead of myself because I don't really need this drop down yet. I could just give it this kind of drop down.
And so on the chat, Mint2 Creative just had an interesting question. It's gone in my feed, so I can't even see what it is anymore. But it was sort of around making, if we have Adobe XD like this and we now are creating these designs, does it sort of create a UI UX designer and sort of merge them into one so you no longer need, one of each? I don't know if you have thoughts on that?
Yeah. So my title is product designer, right? So a lot of people will be like, so do you mean
That's right. Yeah, you are.
UX, UI? Which one is it?
Yeah.
What's your title technically?
Yeah, so I am an experience designer, and I think that is meant to also be, I think like at Adobe also, there are people who have more strengths in, you know, the visual aspect or like sort of telling the story, and or interaction is more their forte. So there's a lot of different niches, and I think like we also like to pair up and learn from each other and sort of see where people's strengths are. I think that if you can do all of the above, I think like it's really great. But also people, you know, are not always going to be a 10 out of 10 on every front in that case. And so like different teams I've worked with here at Adobe have had people who are more workflow designers and do a bit more of the low fidelity designs, and then we'll have someone come in and do more of the visual aspects. But there's also other teams that are kind of more rapid prototypers who kind of need a bit of both to go through to tell the story and also to design just the experience as a whole. So it sort of depends on the group and their needs, but that's sort of my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So I kind of feel the same way. I see the use case for having it being pretty separate. It just so happens that my team works that way. So we like push it together into one. I think it's useful in our case because we're designing products that, you know, other designers are going to use. And so we really want to be mindful that like when I'm coming up with the experience of something or the flow of something, I'm not just giving you a bunch of boxes, but really thinking about like how that would feel and animate and the interaction of that. I think it's really nice to have a holistic view on that. I think for a larger, let's say you were doing, you were designing an app, like you worked at Apple designing an app, maybe it would make sense to kind of split off the interaction portion so that someone could really focus on making those like nice juicy details. But like for me, I know my interactions will be pretty simplistic. I don't need another person to do it, so I just go in and own that process beginning to the end.
Nice. Yeah, thanks for all the great questions you guys in the chat. Please keep on asking them and we will get to them as we see them in the chat.
Yeah.
Before they fade off, I'm trying to read them as much as I can.
So this is just one option. This is just me like kind of throwing ideas at the page, thinking about like, what would this kind of look like? And the most basic question here would be like, well, this is great. This is okay design, maybe not the world's best design, but it's fine. But how would you even get out of this? So I'm just gonna go ahead and add a little X in the corner. So I'm gonna make this 60 and make another one.
Yeah, and so for those of you who might just be joining us right now, we are in day 1 of 3 days that we are going to be doing UX week, and Jeannie is designing in Adobe XD, our prototyping tool, and right now she's working on a landing page for a website where she does floral designs. Are these actually your photos?
Yeah, the photos are mine.
Yeah, they're beautiful photos.
I'm glad.
I'm sure you have them up on Behance somewhere for us to check out.
I do.
Yeah?
You can see it on my profile, or you can follow me on Instagram at jeannie.jpg.
Nice. Okay, yes. You should follow her.
So another alternative, that's just like one real basic option, right? But I kind of like making it a little more funky and cool. Like we can really think about like what
That's funky and cool. No.
Yeah, right?
Make it as big as possible.
Yeah. So one thing we could do is maybe we could say list of states. We'll just find a list of states here. Maybe we can make it state-based, right? Because maybe it doesn't matter so much. We'll just go ahead and add that in here. All right, there's some dupes. And I know for all of our international users, I know you're so bummed. So many of the websites of the world are really designed with only the US in mind. But here we're just going to focus on the US one. And really, maybe we can think about the worldwide one over the course of the week. I love designing for localization. It's so trippy. So that's cool. So maybe we can do this. We can give
To use, seeing sort of that list view, it also makes me think about it's a good time to use repeat grid. I don't know how often do you use repeat grid.
I love repeat grid.
It's one of the best features. It's definitely one of my favorites. I think it was sort of like an OG feature. It was kind of like when the Adobe XD team started. I know at the very beginning, before they even kind of knew what the product was going to be, they had this interaction, and it was something that they were like, we need to do, like, this is great, but what do we do with it? And eventually it sort of evolved into this product, which is kind of fun.
Where is your location, or what is your location? What's the better way to say this? Where are you? Where are you
right
from?
now?
Your location, please. Select your location. Let's just do that for now.
Yeah, Miriam on the chat, I agree. These fancy giveaway announcements. I haven't been on the stream in a while, but I've been seeing like a banner up there coming up with the giveaways. But yeah, don't forget we have some swag, XD swag, that we're going to be giving away for those of you who have been active in the chat. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I'll definitely be using repeat grid in a little bit. I love using repeat grid, and especially since so much of Behance is designed with grids, it's obviously like a very easy way to use it. So here I have a little hover state if I want to select this.
And Colin on the chat agrees, select your location is better.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you, yeah, for the feedback.
All right, so I'll go ahead and delete those because I have it over here.
Right.
So then here, after you've gotten it, I would say...
Everybody on the chat.
Oh no.
Socks. I'm really excited about these socks. I have these, and I think I'll wear them tomorrow or the day after, and I'll show them off.
Should we match?
On my feet. Do you have them?
No.
Do you have any? Oh.
Can I have one?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. These might be the giveaway ones, but maybe we can find you some
Are my
XD
designs
socks
good enough to
then,
qualify for an XD sock?
Does the Behance team have any swag?
We do. We have Behance sweatshirts. Represent. I should have worn mine. They're great.
And I'll wear the socks. Although, yeah, see, it's easier to show off a jacket on the stream than it is to, like, prop my foot up and show off the socks. But
I don't think anyone will be mad
socks
if you do
always
that.
rock. That's what someone said in the chat.
Truth.
I agree. It's very true. Free things also rock in general.
All right. So let's just run through what we've done here and kind of, you know what, I don't particularly love this one, you know, this really basic sort of form fieldy version of this. So I'm gonna go ahead, I don't delete my stuff like I said, I'm just gonna go ahead and make a little archive section here. So we'll go down.
Chelsea on the chat, feet up on the desk, typical Danielle. Thank you, Chelsea. I do know Chelsea, checking in from Boston, so thank you.
Classic.
Yes. I don't work with my feet up on my desk, and for the rest of you to know that. Although
right.
It might sound like I'm unprofessional. Go ahead. Yeah, we're going to do a walkthrough. Jeannie's going to give us a walkthrough of what she's done so far.
All right, so we have a landing page, kind of quirky little illustrations all over the place. It says find a florist near your location with a perfect style. Maybe we can even have your location pulse, you know, in real life. And so it's like really obvious, like you got to click it. So you click it, it gives you a hover state. And you know, great, it's super clickable. When you select it, it pulls up on the right side. It just goes, kind of comes in and gives you a select your location because we're only going to worry about your state for now. And when you hover over certain things, or the state, it will have it light up. I think I have two of
Ooh, 2 mouse hands.
yeah, double cursor. We'll get rid of this one, this guy.
Nice.
So we'll have a little hover state. And then, boom, when you're done, it says, find a florist near California.
This is looking really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the other thing I really like to always do is think about social proof. And it's this idea that we want to give people as much context as possible and about, like, how many other people are looking at this or, like, what are you doing? So I think one way we're going to do that is let's actually give this a little heading and say...
Yeah, Laura and Martin say, I love it, looks good. So thanks for that feedback. And let us know if there's something specific that you kind of want as Jeannie's designing this landing page, that maybe a direction you want to see it going or something else that you want her to design specifically on this page. Let us know.
Yeah. So I love this idea, right? So right when you land, it'll actually say searching from, we'll give a little subtext here, from 1,209 florists. So you kind of know that there's a large database, right? It's like not too, you're not searching from like 4, right? And kind of gives you the sense of like, this service, it's pretty solid. So I'm gonna go back in and just paste these everywhere. Boom. Nice. So maybe that's so that when you change it from California to something else, we'll actually change this and make it smaller, because in California there are less, right? It's just a subset of everyone in the States. So we'll do 367.
And so these are your floral designs. How did you get into some of this floral design work?
I just did it until I got better at it.
Yeah.
That's how I do design in general. I didn't go to school for design, so I just fake it till I make it. And then one day you turn around and you're like, oh yeah, I actually have a portfolio of work. So
how'd you get into design then if you didn't study it?
I lived with someone who was a graphic designer, and she taught me a lot about graphic design, and I totally fell into it because of, I've had a lot of people in my career kind of help me along the way with like hiring me for jobs that I was wholly unqualified for, and just getting in there and kind of practicing and working and learning. I think that's really key. I spent most of my time when I'm not at work trying to learn and improve, because I feel like there's just such a large gap for me to kind of still, I still need to cross that. I never feel like I'm done kind of learning in that way.
Yeah, and I agree. And like for me, same thing, like mentors have been really valuable, and sort of like networking and knowing people and like keeping up relationships has been something that has been valuable just to learn from people, but also for opportunities. People really like want to help you, I found, like, and so it's just a lot of sort of asking and also like keeping those contacts and checking in, and the occasional coffee can really help you in your career later on. You never know when something's going to come up.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like one of the things that I learned early on was that you should just try to keep in touch with the people who've been good to you and just try to kind of give back in that way. And it always works out. I've mentored people just via online things, and they're now better designers than I am. And it's like, it makes you feel so good to see them kind of succeed in that way.
Yeah.
Really just like watching them grow. So always trying to grow that relationship for yourself, and also growing that like with other people. Yep. So I think what we're gonna do is, I would love to kind of, like I said with social proof, I love seeing things kind of change and switch on the screen as you interact with it, right? So you changed it from your location to California, and it gives you the top number kind of changes, but it's pretty small, and it's just more about like, if you were to land here, it would kind of make sense. So I think what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna use repeat grid right now, and we'll go ahead and turn on the grid again.
Yes, the best feature, repeat grid. And Nicholas on the chat is wondering, is Jeannie going to design a mobile version too? Yes. Maybe she will. We will be back here again tomorrow and Thursday, same time, 11 to 1, with Jeannie. And so I'm sure as this design evolves right now, just focusing on the landing page, but you will be designing mobile, I assume. Yes. So stay tuned, and you can see more thoughts around how we work on sort of like the responsive design across.
Yep. So here you'll see that since I have 12 column grid, I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. I'm not gonna think of a fancy new way to do a layout. We'll just make 3 or 4 columns of florists, and I think for now let's do columns of 3 across. Yeah, we'll do 3 across. So all I have to do is make one and just make sure that it fits the grid that I have planned. So I'm gonna turn off the grid again, and I've placed a box here. I've put in a drop shadow so I could see it since it's a white box. I really like this clean, kind of bright white style that we've got going on. And I'll go ahead, and I kind of want to give it an image at the top, like a top section, like a card. I'm going to make a series of cards, right? So I'm going to duplicate this and make the top one shorter. I need to change the border so that the bottom is crisp, right? The tops are rounded, but the bottom is clean, so it looks like it kind of got cropped off here. So I'm going to go ahead and make this 0, 0. And I'm going to take off the drop shadow because I don't need that. We have one. So we have one here. You can kind of see if I make it gray. And then we have one at the bottom. And I'm also going to give myself some text. So maybe we can make this, we'll give it some, We'll give it a name of a studio. I think it's kind of wide. Oh, now it's too narrow. There you go. All right. We'll give it a name of a studio, and maybe we'll give some sort of context, right? Because someone's gonna be searching, and we want to give them like a lot of context for what's gonna show up here. So maybe this text could be the description. So we'll just call this description for now.
Cool, and I just want to reiterate, sign in and be active in the chat. We have the giveaway, and we're going to be announcing the winner of the giveaway soon. I know everyone's really excited about the XD socks, as am I. I'm very excited about these socks. Probably too excited. I'm not even winning the socks. And then I also want to remind everyone that in around 25 minutes, we're going to be wrapping up the contest for today. There's a contest tab in this Behance screen, so you can check out the information around the contest. But Jeannie and I will be selecting a winner at the end of today's stream, so stay tuned. And the winner will get a 1-year subscription to the Creative Cloud.
Great. So one of the florists I actually really like in San Francisco, I'm going to use his work. So this guy is called Lambert Studio. He does great work. I really love his designs, and I'm gonna go see him later today. Or, I mean, he doesn't know this, but I'm gonna show up. So I'm gonna take some little copy text from here. I like to keep the text as real as possible, not using lorem ipsum, so that I can really kind of test out what the constraints of the text will look like and what that means for us. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. And then another thing I like to do is, if you look at this text just showed all of it. There are 2 buttons here. I don't really know what this is called. What are these called?
Yeah, so these are the different text formats that we have of area text and point text. And so there is a difference between having sort of it also measures the pixels differently, if you notice that. So sometimes I forget that I have a certain text style on, but that is something to note. Yeah, good job pointing that out.
Yeah, I like switching back and forth so that I can kind of see, be able to change the width of it versus just having, like, for a button label, it's really useful to have point text.
Yeah.
This is the, there we go. I know it's really small, huh? Maybe I wish I had an in-between size for this. 20.
Awesome. And so we do also have the winner of the giveaway from today.
Ooh.
So the lucky winner of these XD socks. And the winner is Maryam. I'm sorry if I'm about to butcher your name, but the winner is Maryam Kianjam. And so Gus will be messaging you separately in Behance so you can claim your Behance socks, which is really exciting. So thank you guys.
Socks.
Oh, yes, your XD socks.
Well, I wish we had Behance socks. Should we make that next?
I think you should make some socks. I would take socks. I'll take a pin. I'll take anything that you make, to be honest. But yeah, thank you all, though, for being active in the chat. Continue to send in any questions that you have. And remember that we have the ongoing contest for today. But congratulations on winning some awesome socks. And no, Kevin, I apologize. There are no Behance socks at the moment, just XD socks.
Next on my list.
Next
on my list.
Yeah, next. We'll work on people to figure out how to get some more different swag across the products. And for those of you who are just joining us, again, I just want to reiterate, Jeannie is joining us from the New York office from Adobe, and I am from the San Francisco Adobe office. And we are in Adobe XD, the prototyping tool, and Jeannie is just working on a landing page at the moment for her floral design.
Like giving a little breathing room here. All right, so we've gone ahead and we've made a little grid here, and this is just to really, we're doing it very quickly since we only have very limited time here. But I just kind of thought about a little bit about like what the user want to see. So we selected California up there. We probably want to at least give you some context for where in California here. We'll give you the nice big name of the place. We'll actually go ahead and do this, and I'll show you why in a second, why I'm doing this. Same thing with this. I'm going to make the text box fill the width of my container here. Maybe we'll say this florist or cha now. So much now. Maybe I should go back and change
love
it.
the now.
Yeah, really love now.
Chat now. Search now. Do it now.
Yeah, so what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to hit repeat grid. And you can go ahead and just go turn on my grid here. Boom, boom, boom.
Nice. Yes.
And then we'll go ahead and boom, boom, boom. We'll get it all the way down. And then what I like about this is that, you know, since we had the page change when you selected California, maybe these boxes should be visible, like kind of from the bottom of the page. Do you know what I mean? You should like kind of see a portion of it. Maybe this image is actually just too, it's like,
yeah, and I love repeat grid. It's so fast to get some of these repeating elements across the screen, but also you can still customize things really quickly and drop images in and change the text to be unique across each one. And Yizu on the chat was asking, is there a topic for the app for the challenge? So for today's challenge, typically on past streams we've had themes, but today there's no theme, so feel free to do whatever topic you would like, but we are using UI kits, and so there is, today's is the smartwatch UI kit that you can download and create a click-through prototype for us to check out.
I realized that after you've selected something, you don't need the, you don't need this cursor anymore. I'm gonna get rid of this. Yeah. So,
this is really coming along.
Yeah. So maybe we can actually get rid of the search button, because as you change stuff, it'll just show you the florist, right? So we can go ahead and go back. I know this part is kind of tedious. I'm gonna send this to the back and just get rid of these. I wish I could do this more easily.
Nice. And while Jeannie is going through and making some of these edits, we're going to take another look at one of the submissions for today's contest. So Yizu, you can take a look at one of these smartwatch apps that have been created. And so we've gotten this one in. We have auto home, so I'm going to click enter home. Nice, Elliot's house. I like the little illustration. I click through here, living room. Looks like you can adjust its parameters. Click on music, workout, electronic. Click on country. Nice. Let's see, is there a different avenue? Oh, nice. Okay, so we have on the different icons. If I click through, it goes to a different screen here. I'm gonna go back to the living room. Ooh, I like this toggle piece. This looks really good. Cool. Awesome.
This
looks
like
really nice.
Images.
Yeah, I really like the little toggle that happened. It's very nice. So we got this in from Equipoise Designers. So thank you for sending that one in. That was Auto Home. And again, keep on sending in your prototypes and we'll take a look. Maybe we'll take a look at one more right now that we've gotten in. We have Watch Match. This is coming in from I'm gonna butcher this name. Manaranche Lore. Watch Match. So we have Watch Match. Do I match with ... What's his name? Ooh, so a little audio. And once you stop recording, look who we found. Lucas. Yep, that's him. Nah, you're wrong. This is looking really nice. Let's talk. You can say hi and click audio again.
Oh, that's a cute
looks
chat,
like there's a little chat. Yeah, I like the... Ooh, I like the... We did a little different interaction there, which is really nice, and had the different slide through. This looks really good. Yeah, I like clicking on that bottom left corner and seeing sort of it come in from the top instead of the other transitions that we had. So great. Thank you guys for sending these in. They're looking really good. Oh, scroll down.
Are there more?
there are more. Do you want to take a look at a few more, or we can?
Yeah, let's look at more if you want.
You want to look at more right now? All right. So from Antonio, we have another submission called Play Together. So we'll take a look at Play Together. Start now. We have the sports, basketball, hockey, soccer. Click on hockey. Oh, finding your opponent. Let's see what happens. Start now. It's loading. Well done. Say thank you. Oh, so there is a chat here too. Love playing with you. How do I get back? Click to the next one. Great, these are looking really great. I like being able to navigate and click through some of these, and this one's interesting with this whole sort of idea of like finding your opponent for the different sports pieces. Right, so thank you for sending that in. And yes, we have 14 minutes to submit your challenge entries before we pick a winner for today.
Great. All right, so if we want to go back to my screen, I can show you a little bit of the repeat grid. So there's two things I like to do with repeat grid. The obvious that everyone always does is use images. So I'll go ahead and dump in my images.
For good reason. It's exciting to watch the images come in.
Boom, boom, boom.
Nice.
Wow. All right, and then sometimes I like to, you can see that because it was just from my Finder, I can go in and kind of manipulate the ones that I think don't make a ton of sense because they're the same stuff over and over. So we'll make, maybe that's not the right one. There you go. And this one can be a little more obvious. So yeah, all of these are images that I've made either with other designers and photographers. I really love doing this kind of stuff, so it's kind of cool to see it come to life here. A lot of the models aren't actually models, they're just like regular people, friends who are like open to doing it.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of cool. So we can kind of see here that when you change something, you would be like, it would kind of populate it below, right? The images would change down here. I think this one's a little gray. I'll make it. Yeah, so you can kind of see, you can see the images change as you change the parameters, and it kind of gives you the indication like, oh, I should scroll down, as
nice.
Opposed to like people who have like the obvious bounce, like scroll now. And then I also like to take, I went to text edit and I just dumped in a bunch of names of florists or people that I know and just made it into a doc. I saved it out as a text file on my desktop. And then I also just can use that to dump it in here. If I can find this. I can dump it into the name if it works. Oh, I might have to
select the.
I might have to save it as a TXT file. See, rename.
And so to answer, Kip has a question on the chat. Is this for web design? So yes, Jeannie is designing a landing page for her floral design studio.
I don't know why it's not working. But usually you can drag in a text file. Maybe I just didn't save it as the right text file.
Yeah, it might just be saved out differently. But yeah, it is similar to dropping in images from your Finder and dropping that in, like automatically going into all of your repeat grid elements. You can do the same with text, which is just a nice little hack that's pretty fast.
Yeah. And what's really great about this is that since I have this grid kind of show up, I wonder if I need to have it show up here. Do you know what I mean? So you can kind of see, like, even if you didn't populate anything, you would still be able to see it. And we'll put in some different images here so that you can tell that it changed.
Yeah, and people are just saying if you edit the plain text and then save in the top of the text edit.
All right, I'll do that.
Nice.
Great. So you can kind of see here.
Yeah, Munir has a great question on the chat. How do you get inspired? I think that, like you showed sort of the beginnings and some of the mood boards that you start with. I don't know if you do that every time, but it'd be interesting to hear sort of how you get inspired.
Yeah, I think, Behance is obviously a huge one. Pinterest or Instagram are also great places for that. I mean, I just like constantly just looking around and trying to figure out like what you like. I think refining your visual voice and your taste is very critical as a designer. If you go in, like you go to my Pinterest and you see what I used to pin, it's like shockingly bad stuff. Some stuff is like just really, really bad that I used to like and now I don't like anymore. But it's useful to kind of spend your time refining what you do and don't like, even just with things like graphic design or anything else. So these are all things I've saved. A lot of these are from Behance.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, I think like Behance is great to go in and get, yeah, like Margarita's saying, I like to use design inspiration.
Oh, I like
It's a
design
great-
inspiration
yeah,
a lot too.
Design inspiration. But yeah, I think that looking through other content and other things people have made, and I think like not only on Behance, but also like I like to play with different things like different apps and sort of see like the interactions and what they're doing, whether I think they're done really well or if they're not done well, sort of like why that is. And so I'm always sort of, whenever I hear someone is using a different app, I'm like, I need to try it because I'm just so curious like what the experience is like and why people are really interested in it or like why it's not sort of doing as well.
Right.
But yeah, Behance is a great place to go and see a lot of different mediums from a lot of great artists and get inspired there. Kevin on the chat, maybe one day Adobe will publish the Adobe Inspire button. Maybe.
I mean, technically the Behance search
I think
button,
we need like a big button.
like that's
like,
easy. And just
yeah,
like,
the easy
bam,
button, but
and
it's
then,
the
like,
Adobe
background-
Inspire button.
And
yeah.
the background just changes to a different image.
Yeah. How difficult? Can we do that? No. Okay.
I also have this. Let's see if I can find it on Medium. I have a link that I can drop in the chat later of my like things that I like using. How do I get to my page? This is terrible. All right, product design resources I found helpful. That's really useful. I like taking this. I don't know if I can drop it into the chat. Maybe I can chat myself. But we
can have someone
drop this in, yeah. So it's kind of like just general like links on the internet that I really like going back to and reading about, and just going and seeing like how do I design a UI flow, or like here's some animation and motion collections, and seeing stuff like that. I think it's useful. All right, so we're gonna make this short again, just for now. And we're gonna copy the same, oh no, I lost my X. We're gonna copy this same paradigm to help you change the second element. Because we have two parameters, right? We have one parameter for location, and then we have one parameter for style. So we'll just go ahead and make sure that we cover both of those parameters. So this is select a style.
And Tim, thank you in the chat for sending through. I know you've been sort of helping answer some questions people have had in the chat, but Tim posted the Medium article that Jeannie just shared as well, so you can click out to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll just find like adjective list.
Nice. And while Jeannie's working on that, I think we'll take another look at someone's submission for the contest. We have Dan's submission called Spare Change, and the time is ticking for submissions. I think we're going to take a look at them in like 6 minutes, 5 minutes. So make sure that you're sending them in for today's contest. So we're going to look at Dan's Spare Change. So we can click on Start, Give or Take. Ooh, I wonder, there are two different paths. I'll go with Give. Looks like we have Karma Money. If I click on those, this is a nice design. It looks very stripped also from sort of the UI kit that we had. I can see sort of like the elements of it, but changed the design quite a bit. All right, and click Add. Oh, so you can add some money. Oh, I like the blur.
The blur could be useful. Yep.
Given. Cool. Let's see what Take would do. Oh, so it is a different path, which I like. How much? Click on Add $4. Give me the money. Awesome. Great. This is a great click through, Dan. Thank you for sending this through. I like the UI elements of it. I really like the blur and sort of the two different paths in that moment of like give or take. So awesome work. And we will be picking the winner for the contest very soon, but sort of near the end of the hour, and you'll win a 1-year subscription to Creative Cloud.
Wow. Fancy. All right, so I've gone ahead and I dropped in a few styles. Select the styles you love. These don't have to be the polished ones, and we don't have to have as many, right? We don't want to give people too many options. I think there's what is that, like, too many options is not good for decision making. So we'll go ahead and drop, we'll make these radio buttons. Actually, you know what I could have done? I'm just gonna go ahead and make this a repeat grid. Yes.
Oh, nice.
And make this, maybe we can make.
Oh, and Dan's saying that there was also a series of screens in the profile. So maybe we take a look back at his really quickly and go through the profile screens. So he's still finalizing it, but this is great so far. So I'm going to click on profile, and looks like there's still some other screens here. We have Steve and his money. Awesome. I just want to make sure that we cover everything that there is there. Yeah, let me look back at, oh, we have a description about karma as well. Although I think, Dan, there's, oh, okay, we click up here to get there. Awesome. Cool, thank you for sharing these out, and continue to share your prototypes and refining them for the contest.
So we'll go ahead and have one pre-selected in our little designy version of this. Oh, that's gonna change everything, that's right. We'll just make one like so. And we'll give it a button so you can save. Just gonna steal it from here.
Cool, and I hear you on the chat that there are more screens for some of the other ones too, like Auto Home, and we'll definitely take a look at them again as we're going through, update them, and we'll take a look at the end and pick a winner. So we'll make sure for Auto Home, we will go back through and make sure that we see all your screens. But yeah, Jeannie, I think at some point too, when you find a good point, it'd be good to maybe go back through and we can take a look at everything you've sort of done again and get a sense. And then I don't know if you're gonna do sort of a click through, like prototype it and do the hookups.
Sure, we can do the hookup. I think the hookups in this case, yeah, we can. Let's do that now. So should we walk it through first?
Yeah, let's do a walkthrough.
All right. So here's the styles that we have so far. So we have a landing page. We took it out so that the button didn't really make a ton of sense. You could just straight up land here and scroll down and it would look good, right? You would just be like, oh, lots of florists. But if you wanted to, we could have this kind of pulse. Your location would be like, ooh, click on me.
Nice.
And then you would click on it, you hover, and the entire thing would change into this, our highlight color. And when you select it, we'd give you a little right side here. It comes in, it says select your location. We'd have a state.
Mm-hmm.
You can select one, and that's the hover state. And then when you select it, the entire thing closes and it switches to California. The top here switches from all of the florists that you have to just one. And then the contents below actually change, and so you can scroll down and kind of look at what they are and what they can offer you. And then here, if you were to select, I guess this is actually incorrect. If you were to select this, the perfect style, because we're gonna actually have it be able to change both options, parameters.
Yeah, and as Jeannie goes through, and then she's gonna be hooking up her prototype, so you can take a look at what that looks like. We can publish it, and hopefully we can send it out, and you guys can we can share it with you, and you guys can give us feedback as well. But that also answers a question on the chat. I know that Lindsay was asking if you update, your link will update for us when we get it. And so that's also a great question. When you go to send out and publish your links with XD, there are two options. You can update a link, or you can create a new link. And so if you just update it, it will be the same link for us, and so we'll get your new version. However, if you create a new link, it will not update for us, and you'll need to send us that new link instead. So that's something to know. And as Jeannie goes through the workflow for it later on, you'll be able to see also how that's done.
I don't need this. And I have two. Great. So yeah, you should be able to change your style parameter. So the location parameter has changed to California. The style parameter, the perfect style is just a kind of generic, like overall arching thing. And then on the right here, you could say find a florist, and it would
Styles you love.
Exactly.
Nice.
And then you would have 4 or 5 options, 6 options in this case, and then search by this style. And then same thing. So you would land on a page, and that would kind of complete. So right here is like a great place to stop, because this would kind of complete one section of this kind of search flow that we have in mind, right? And this, I did not select that correctly.
Nice. And so while Jeannie's also updating the designs, we can take a look at some more of the submissions that came in. So Vic, we have a design by Vic for, what's it called? We have this voice love. And I know Vic mentioned that it was his first attempt at Adobe XD. So excited to see what you've worked on using the UI kits and sort of your experience with that. So we're going to go ahead and click through. Love, we have the name list here, very nice. And I'm gonna go through to the next one. Not sure where the click point is here, so I get a little stuck here. So maybe make sure that you have it hooked up to the next screen that you want to be able to click to either go back or to come forward. When we go on to the next screen, we have the contacts, and I can hang up here. And then we have call love levels per minute. Nice. And then I can go back home. Awesome. This looks really great for your first attempt at XD. And my only feedback would be to make sure that that second screen has a link to click to get to the next one, some hotspot, whether it's going back home or moving forward to the other screens.
Right. All right, so I think I'm pretty set with the designs that we have for now. So we'll go ahead, and I'm in the prototype tab in the top. And really this is just an easy way for me, I'll close this styles tab, for us to be able to link from one page to another, right? So we'll just say we'll link from here, and I like just drag it to, oh no. Yeah, there we go. And the transition here is gonna be maybe not dissolve. Yeah, we can have dissolve. Let's just try it. Let's see what happens. So you would hover, and that would be what that hover would look like.
Nice.
Great. So we'll go ahead and do that here too. So this is pretty straightforward because I'm just having one each link to the next, because I've already kind of laid it out in a way where I wouldn't need to like, nope. Oh, I see. The middle of this point is because this page is so long.
Screen, yeah.
Yes. Got it. I was like, where are you going?
Yeah, so Jeannie's just going through and hooking up the whole prototype. You can select your transitions if you want, or you can hook up either like the whole page or select just little sections that you definitely want to be clicked on, like specific text to then go to a specific screen. And you can have many hookups. There's a lot of different designs I've seen that just like have like a plethora of different little hookup UIs everywhere, but right now it's pretty straightforward. We're kind of going screen to screen to tell this story.
So we'll go back and look at it here. So make the sides go away. All right, we have a landing page. If I select your location, it hovers. When I click on it, it opens your little side panel here. Oh, we're missing the bottom row, so we can go back in and fix that, no worries. And then when you hover over that, you get the little California selection. It would switch to California. If I scroll down, I can see all of the stuff that I want to see here, like the different florist options. If I hover over the perfect style and I select it, I get this, and I can select one and search by this style, and then it would change to a refined style, and then the bottom would change also. Nice. So that's pretty straightforward.
It's coming along really well.
What was it that we were missing? Oh, I see. Because these two, right, it was kind of obvious that when you went from one to the next, the bottom disappeared.
And that's one of the great things, actually, I've realized when I've been working with the like prototype feature in XD is I will use it and actually look through my designs that way sooner than later, because I find those details, like it's really obvious to notice like when something is like off within the designs, or like I forgot to like copy and paste something to the other one. It just makes it really noticeable right away, because you're kind of going through that experience you would go through naturally.
Exactly.
And so I'm always like, oh shoot, I forgot something. But you can quickly go back through and then test your prototype again.
Yeah. So that is the kind of what we want to see here. So I think the next step here is we would be able to map out the flow of what clicking on one of these cards should do. So that's almost like a secondary page. Should we do that now? Or do you want to look at some of the contest stuff? We only have a...
Yeah, I think we will take one more look at the contest stuff really quickly and just sort of look through the submissions. And then, you know, we can maybe send out your... create a link with what you have so far, and that way we can share it out with everybody on the chat, and we can see, you know, you can leave comments within the prototype for us, because we will be back here tomorrow with Jeannie again, same time, 11 to 1, and you can point out any questions you have, or if you have suggestions design wise, or you notice something, leave that feedback in the prototype, and we will get notified, and we can bring it back up tomorrow and talk about it and continue the designs.
Great.
But we will look at some of the other submissions we got, and I know I apologize for those of you as I've gone through that I've missed some of the screens, but we will take a look at all of them at the end and, you know, pick our winner. Paul Tranny just walked in. Hello. Hi. Good to see you. Yeah, I know she has beautiful flowers. We couldn't do it though because the green screen. We had some yes, we had a like invisibility issue happening. Yeah. See ya. Cool. So we will look through some other submissions we've gotten. So we have a submission from Paul. So we'll take a look. Adobe Typekit. All right, let's see. We'll click here. Oh, so we have different fonts. Serif. I'll click on serif. Nice. Click here so you can learn a little bit more about this font. Nice. Love to see like a scroll here, right? That'd be awesome. And go back. Is there another clickable one here? Just the serif?
Oh, yeah, just the serif.
Awesome. Well, this is great. I like the font theme, the sort of idea of going through, selecting different fonts, and learning a little bit more about them. So that's a great submission. And then we'll take a look at another one. I'm gonna go through here. For Wang, we have a meditation app. All right, so I'm gonna enter. Ooh, I like him. We have a different transition. We have it sliding in, coming up from the top. Lost in Night, Serendipity. So we'll click on Serendipity. We have a little illustration here for the meditation, which is very nice.
Very zen.
Yes. And I can go back. Are there any other? Make sure I don't miss anything. Awesome. These look great. I like the sort of images we have behind of all the different scenes. Cool. And then we have one more submission. Ashish, we have... Oh, nope, this is the same link. Oh. I apologize. I have the wrong people's. All right, so this one is Take Care of My Birdie. So, okay, press start.
Cute, what a cute
very
illustration.
Cute. Yeah, these are fun illustrations here. So let's see, I will click down here. We have the transition coming up. Seeds, berries, corn. All right, let's feed berries. And the bird says thanks. Very
like
cute.
A Tamagotchi.
It is very Tamagotchi-esque, yeah. Yeah, right? Now it's crying. Oh no, it's hungry. Feed it again. Corn, thanks. Oh, it's like this cycle here. It's awesome, and then you can go back. Yeah, I like the different styles that we have here in the sort of UI in the corners, but very cute little bird idea that we have going on here. So thank you for sending in the submission. I don't know if we pick winners soon or if we should do that a little bit more at the end of the chat. maybe we'll go through now, sort of recap the ones that we've seen, and we can you can help select today's winner.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. So all the links are in. I will make sure to refresh and try not to miss any of the screens that you guys have in here. I know Auto Home. I'm going to refresh this one. So we have the Auto Home submission, and this has the living rooms with the different UI here. So if I click through, we have sort of like adjusting the temperature.
Yeah.
Oh, we have actually here on the scroll,
a little
toggles here.
Smart.
You can go up and down.
You gotta imagine it like scrolling, right? Because then like the numbers kind of shrink on the
like
side.
yeah, exactly.
Like a dial.
We have this living room item for the light. And then this was the one that they had, sort of this little toggle going back and forth here. And then music, you could select country. Is there anything else here? And sort of click through, listen to the music, pause the music, and go back. Very nice. I think this one is really nice. There's a lot of different avenues and sort of paths that you started to fill out for the experience, which is really nice. And sort of those details of like hitting the toggle or the sort of dial on the side are really nice touches.
Right.
Cool. And then we had watch match, and this was the one with the chat and the little bubbles and the little UI on the side.
Right.
And then we had play together, just refresh this, which was like finding your opponent and the different sports. Spare change. I forget. Oh yeah, this is the one that had the profile as well.
Had, like,
you
a
could
blur.
start through.
Yeah, that's a really
the
nice
blur coming
blur.
through. And then we also have smartwatch, the voice sort of love piece here.
You can analyze your voice emotions, I suppose.
That's right. Yeah, there was more of like you're talking to the person via voice, right? We have the typekit font piece here, and let me know if you want me to click through any of these again if you were missing them.
I remember them.
Cool. And then we had
The meditation.
the meditation application here, and I forgot smartwatch. The Feed My Birdie, is that what it was called? Take Care of My Birdie.
Yep.
So we had a couple here. And yes, I apologize if I missed out on some of these screens. And Dan, I noticed in the chat you said it's not updated. Auto Home, yes, there might be more screens, but there are definitely a lot of the experience are also already built out. But do you have any sort of top favorites from some of the ones that we've seen here?
I think Auto Home was my favorite.
Auto Home.
I think you want to go back to it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think just there is a big variety in the UI and the kind of layout the thinking that we went into it, and kind of like, a mix and match of like what different interfaces should look like when the context is different, right? Yep. I think that's really critical, is that like when it's a dial looking thing, it correlates to the dial, kind of like a Nest almost, like, right, the thermostat, or like something where you can twist it. I think it would be really cool with the lights. Like, if you could totally imagine it being like, you could, swipe up and down and like have the lights change. And same thing with you could have like maybe the entire watch interface could like kind of dim and brighten. There's like lots of really interesting ideas about like.
Wow, we found the bedroom one. I don't know how we got here, but yeah, they noticed there was some more here also. So maybe we'll click
that's
through.
Cool. Oh wow,
romantic.
Yeah,
both of us like, what?
Turn it on.
Oh, well, the mood has changed. I wanted to turn it back off, but I couldn't. But what else do we have? Movie.
Oh, that's cute. Using the blur to kind of indicate that the
fresh
state
morning
has changed. That's really smart.
And then good night sleep. Oh, I like the lights sort of turning on in that one.
Yeah, that was cool.
So we covered them all. So I think then we are picking Auto Home as today's winner for the contest. So congratulations, and thank you all for submitting to the challenge. All of the prototypes are really great, and it's good to see you guys using XD and sort of playing with the prototypes for those of you who are new, and also for those of you who have been using the app a bit more as well. But yeah, Auto Home, congratulations. Great work, everyone. Thank you for submitting. I know, we need like an applause soundtrack.
Should we have
we have some other people in the room. Yes, great job, great work, everybody.
I want a laugh track. Like every time I do something, like I like push a pedal underneath and everyone.
Well, so I suggest we have now like the great giveaway thing that comes up at the top, right? We have the text that comes up. Anytime I say giveaway, I feel like there should be like confetti. There should be audio behind in the back. Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Obviously,
we'll make it happen.
Well, no, I don't know if we'll really make it happen, but may not be the best ideas that happen, but cool.
Yeah. So all I'm doing here is I'm just prepping a little bit for tomorrow. I was just thinking about responsive design. I think that was a big question a lot of people had. So I'd love to show you more of that tomorrow, or at least kind of like explain what that would look like.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was just thinking about here.
Awesome. Yeah. And for those of you who worked on the challenge today for the contest, we will be back again tomorrow, and there's another stream on after us today, so stay tuned for sure, and we'll have more contests to come. But yes, Jeannie and I will be back on again tomorrow, 11 to 1, so check back in with us, and you can have another chance to, we'll have another contest tomorrow, and probably more giveaways if you didn't win the XD socks today.
Right.
Cool. So you were...
I saved out the file.
Saving out the file. Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah, and so this is what we were talking about earlier. There are 2 buttons for the options where you can update link or create new link. And so since Jeannie's sort of just creating this now, she made a new link.
Ooh, you can see everything. That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, so actually, if you go back to your XD file, this is also a good thing to note. There's a little home button. So when you go into prototype mode, there's a home button on the first screen, or on any screen when you just click on the artboard. And if it's blue, that means that it's selected, and that means it's going to be like the start of your prototype. But you can change that home to any place on, so that little gray there, if you click it, that means it's going to be home. So if you just want it to be the prototype instead of the whole piece, it's up to you though.
Got it.
Yeah.
Should I just update link?
Yeah, you can update the same link.
Cool. And we'll drop that link in the chat, and you guys can kind of look at that.
Yeah, and we can post it out also on Twitter, but and then you guys can take a look. So I'll share that out, and then leave any comments on the XD file as well to take a look, because we'll be continuing this out tomorrow, and Jeannie will be continuing. What are you thinking for tomorrow? Going through the rest of sort of responsive design across maybe mobile, or?
Yep, we'll do a little bit of moving what we had now from tablet to tablet and mobile, and then maybe we'll make the florist profile so that you can kind of see what that flow would look like. Because technically the user hasn't even signed up yet. All they've done is change 2 parameters. So we got to figure out where should we get you to sign up and what that should look like.
Yeah, and if you have anything that you really want us to see, like where you want this to go tomorrow, let us know. I mean, you can tell us in the chat now, or if you think of something as you're looking through the prototype tomorrow, we'll take a look, and we'll look through the chats that we get, and you guys can help us figure out tomorrow's live stream a bit more as well.
And yes, the presentation that is in the front will be part of this XD file, which I thought through. So
nice. Okay, yeah. So wait, do you want to click through one last time, sort of what we've done today? With the landing page design.
Yep. So here we are. We have just a single navigation piece with a little sign up here. You're going to change your parameter. When you hover, the color would change. And then when you select, we'd get a little right side flyout. When you hover over a certain selection, you'd kind of get it bolded and a little color change.
Nice.
Changing that would change what you see below on the page. So we kind of changing the number here so we know that the context of your parameter has actually changed the contents of the page. I think I went backwards one. If you were to hover over your the style parameter, it would give you the same thing. We give some radio buttons here. I think someone chatted earlier, like, shouldn't both be radio buttons to be consistent? I think there's some refinement here that is severely lacking. Like, I'm not sure that radio buttons is the right thing for this, but I think we could play around with that.
Yeah.
And then you would change the style parameter, and then below the axis would change.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like you've designed out like a great first flow, and it'll be really exciting to see going through and thinking about the responsive design, how this carries across mobile tomorrow.
Yep.
It'll be really great. And Edgar on the chat, I know people have been asking, will these this stream be accessible later? Yes, these will all be on YouTube later, so you can watch it back, and we will be back on tomorrow. So Jeannie will be joining us again from 11 to 1 tomorrow, and what's today? So tomorrow and Thursday.
Tomorrow is Valentine's Day.
Oh, tomorrow's. Oh. So the flower, maybe we'll have more flowers.
Yeah,
Flowers
we'll
will
have
be
more
back.
flowers.
We'll have a heart here. It'd be great. Or maybe you don't like Valentine's Day and it won't be as happy of a day. But stay tuned as well, because we do have a stream coming on right after this. And so you don't want to miss that. And I think Michael will be on. Is that right? Yeah, Michael will be on next. So make sure to stay tuned and join us again tomorrow as we continue UX Design Week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.